Do you notice when you knock on a door as a door-to-door salesperson and you start going into your pitch or ask them if they're the homeowner and then tell them why you're in the neighborhood, that immediately the prospect says, not interested, or we're good, or I don't need that, or can you come back in a week, a month, a year later? What is going on in their brain that is causing that to happen? Do you understand that? If you don't, come over to the vibe board. I'm going to show you what's going on, and then I'm going to show you how to relanguage certain words you've been taught to use that's triggering sales resistance. And I'm going to show you how to use your tonality, to get the prospect to let their guard down and actually listen to you. Come to the vibe board. I'm going to show you how to do this. All right, now, first things first, you got to understand, this is Behavioral Science 101. Within the first 5 to 12 seconds of you knocking on that door, your prospect is picking up on social cues from you based on your body language and how your tone sounds that triggers their brain to react in one of two ways. This is very important. Watch this right here. If you come across too excited, now I don't mean be boring, okay, but if you come across too excited, like too enthusiastic, if you come across aggressive, if you come across needy, you know what I mean by that, and if you come across attached, what happens in your prospect's brain? It's called our survival part of our brain. We trigger what are called defensive mechanisms. That anytime you feel you're being sold to, the prospect freezes up. It's just like you freeze up if a salesperson does that to you. So it triggers what's called fight or flight mode, which instantly triggers objections. Oh, we don't need it. Oh, solar, we're good. Pest control, we don't have bugs. Oh, alarms, we don't have any break-ins. Or whatever it is you sell, there's always some, oh, we're not interested, and they try to get rid of you, okay? That's what we don't want to do. Now, what I'm going to show you in this video is how to come across more neutral, more unbiased. Like, I'm not quite sure we could even do anything yet. You're not going to say those words, but it's how you're going to come across. You're going to come across more collective, and I'm going to teach you still how to be assertive like I am right now, but more like an expert is, okay? And I'm going to show you how to become detached, all right? Now, when you knock on the door, does the prospect know you can help them? No, because you have zero trust and zero credibility. So your first job as a salesperson on the doors, this is for any sales, but especially on the doors, is to get the prospect to let their guard down. Because if you can't get the guard down, you're trying to sell against the wall of resistance the entire time, okay? So I'm going to show you some pattern erupts. Even what you're wearing can trigger this, and how to use your tone to interrupt the pattern where immediately the prospect's guard comes down and they become open to what you're offering, and that triggers what we call curiosity. Listen, you want to pay attention to what I'm about to show you right now, okay? This is going to be interesting for you. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up an industry-specific sales structure here, and I'm going to show you how to make it your own for whatever you sell door to door. We train 161 different industries, including yours watching me here directly. And there's only 163 industries in the world and subcategories. We're in all of them, including yours. But I'm going to show you one for solar, and then I'm going to show you how to apply it to what you sell for anything door to door. Okay, now, the first thing that we want to do here, I want to show you a few things, because a lot of it has to do with what you're actually wearing. And I'm not kidding you. Think about what is the average salesperson look like that knocks door to doors. They wear a collared shirt, company logo, they have a license right here, a name badge, okay? And they typically have some type of shorts and some type of shoes. That's pretty obvious that you're a salesperson trying to sell them something. So you don't want to be in the same pattern that the prospect's brain already recognizes, okay? So what I did when I was in door-to-door 20-some years ago, when I first started my career in college, is I wanted to interrupt that pattern. So I took my license off, put it in my pocket, the thing, so they didn't see a name tag here. If you have a name tag on here with your license, it pretty much says what? I am a salesperson trying to sell you something door. So take it off, put it in your pocket. If they ask it, say, oh, yeah, it's just a boring picture here, and just show it to them. Most people won't even ask, I promise you. Very rare was I ever asked to show my badge. Like 1 in a million prospects would ask me that, okay? I typically wore like a t-shirt with the company logo on it, very small, okay? I wore shorts. I wore like white New Balance shoes, like the old grandpa shoes. I wore like a cheap Walmart watch. You can wear an Apple Watch, but don't get too fancy. Don't wear no like gold watches or anything. You look like a salesperson. And I kept it as basic as possible. I also put a tape measure on there. So my first job was home security systems door to door when I was in college, going to Utah Valley University. So put a tape measure here. Then I went and got a construction vest, a neon green one. I also had an orange one, okay, neon orange, all right? So I look like more like a construction worker. I'm interrupting the pattern. I had a metal clipboard, like I was reading their meter, and I had like a thick, I had the agreements in the metal clipboard, and then I had like some paper there where I was taking like a survey. So when they came to the door, they didn't know if I was a construction worker. They didn't know if I was reading their meter. They didn't know. I was interrupting the pattern, just how I looked, okay? Now also one thing you want to do, and I'm going to come over here to this view right here. You want to make sure that you're standing to the side on the least, on the hand that's not their dominating side. Now you can't tell if they're right hand or left hand right when you knock on the door, right? So I'm going to play the stats, because about 91% of people you knock on their doors are going to be right-handed. So I got a 90-some% chance that if I stand on their left-hand side, I'm on their less dominant side. Now, why is that important? Because the way our brains are wired, just as human beings, whenever God put the first humans here, that's debatable thousands or millions ago, we have these protective manners, the defensive mechanisms in our brain. Survival part of your brain, a lot of people call them the reptilian part of the brain. So when you stand on someone's dominant side, it is still buried in our subconscious that person might be a threat because they're standing on your dominant side. Okay, they've got a weapon. Your brain is still programmed from tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, like I said, whenever God put the first humans here, to protect yourself. So you want to stand on the left-hand side. Now, if you find out they're left-handed in that conversation, just flip over to the side. You don't want to stand straight. You want to stand to the side. You're less of a threat. Okay, when you're like here, you're more like a threat. When you're back here, less of that. The brain can't tell the difference. It's got these old wires in our brain that still tells us you're a threat. So we don't want to be a threat. Typically, you want to stand about 6 to 8 feet back. If you're in a busy area like New York City, don't be out in the road where you get ran over. You got to judge that based on where you're at and what type of homes you're knocking at. Okay? Now, watch your clothes, what you're actually wearing, like I said. Take a tape measure, whatever you need. You just don't, I even got salespeople that sell pest control that we train. We train a lot of people in pest control, solar, alarms, lawn care, everything door-to-door HVAC. And they'll even put like leather gloves. They'll have like a little chain here with leather gloves here. So they quite literally look like they're there to fix something. And somebody that comes to fix your stuff at your house, you don't view them the same way you view a salesperson. So your guard is already down a little bit. See what I'm talking about there, okay? Now, this is important right here. These are what's called NEPQ connection questions. Now, if you're not one of our clients, NEPQ stands for Neuro Emotional Persuasion Questions. That's a methodology that I invented from my behavioral science and human psychology background in university and my 18-year sales career before I retired and started this sales training company, 7th level, okay? So right when I first knock on the door, okay, I'm going to show you something here. Let me show you this. You have to learn the tonality, okay? There's 5 types of tone you got to master. There's a curious tone, there's a confused tone, there's a challenging tone, there's a concerned tone, a tone that shows empathy, and there's a playful tone, okay? Right when you knock on the door, I'm going to say something that might make, well, Jeremy, I can't believe you're saying this, but I actually want to have kind of a confused tone, okay? Like I'm not quite sure they're the right people I should be talking to. Now, I don't say confused like you're 96 years old and you're suffering from dementia, okay? God knows, I hope you're not suffering that. I'm talking about a confused tone like you're not quite sure they're the right person. That's a different type of tone that draws people in. So when you knock on the door, okay, when they come to the door, like if you sold roofing, let's say if you're a roofing salesperson, you probably want to look at the roof because that would make sense. You're looking at the roof. If you sold solar, probably the roof. If you sold pest control, maybe the cobwebs, depending on your area, the ant mounds, if you're back on the East Coast or something. So it just depends. If you're lawn care, look at the bushes. Okay, so whatever it is, you're looking at where it would make sense with the prospect. And as the prospect comes to the door, okay, I'm going to go right here to this frame. You come to the door, you're still looking at your thing, kind of like, say if you're selling roofs, solar, whatever, and they come to the door. As they come to the door, take your pen like this, okay? Think of yourself as like a conductor with an orchestra. You're leading the melody and the music. Okay, this is, just watch, okay? You come to the door. Yeah, are you guys are you the property owners here? Like you're confused and you're going to lean in. Okay, watch this again. Yeah, are you guys how can I help you? Yeah, are you guys are you the property owners here? Like you're concerned and confused. Notice I'm leaning in. Watch what the prospect does. Yeah, what's going on? Right there is what we call a pattern interrupt, okay? Right there, I am interrupting the pattern of that prospect's brain. All I did was trigger curiosity simply by using a confused tone. Now, you're not going to go there, yeah, are you the property owner? That's not what I mean. You're still assertive. You're just not sure if they're the right person. Yeah, are you guys are you the property owners here? Yeah, what's going on? See, I've interrupted the pattern. Bam, I've done more than 99.999% of salespeople knocking on doors that say, hi, are you the homeowner? Nice to meet you. The reason why I'm out here, and you're in pitch mode and the wall's already up. You want to eliminate all that. Now, as soon as they do that, okay, I then got to react quick because as you know on the doors, there's a lot going on in their mind very, very quickly. So you understand you have to be quick-witted and you have to know where to take them. So the next thing I have to do is I have to make them feel like I'm about to leave. It's a disarming technique. Because if the prospect feels like you're going to be there for 30 minutes, they're like, oh, I don't have time. Can you come back later? So immediately you're going to say, oh, and I apologize. I'm just Joseph. I've got to go in a few minutes. I've got another appointment. So why did I do that? Okay. I apologize. Oh, I apologize. I'm Joseph. I apologize. I only got a few minutes before my next appointment. And it's like you're angling to leave. I do that because if I cannot get them to let their guard down, I have no chance of selling that prospect, okay? So it's a disarming technique because if they feel like you're only going to take a couple minutes, they're less likely to try to what? Get rid of you because you can't sell them anything in a couple minutes. Now, once you learn how to build a gap from where they are to where they now see they can be, even in 5 to 7 minutes, guess what? Nobody will say, well, I thought you had an appointment in 2 minutes. Oh, yeah, I think we're going to reschedule that. They just don't ask that because they get emotionally caught up in the conversation. Are you with me there? Okay, I'm going to show you this. So going back, yeah, and I'm Joseph. I apologize. I've only got a few minutes before my next appointment. And then you're going to, I'm not sure if you speak with your neighbors. Then I'm going to go right into the next thing here. I'm not going to say, oh, I apologize. I've only got a few minutes for my next appointment and just sit there. Because they're like, well, what do you want? Okay, you got to be quick-witted on the doors. Oh, and I apologize. I've only got a few minutes before my next appointment. I'm not sure if you speak with your neighbors. I just came over from Kathy Higgins. Says, you know, Kathy, she has like the red door. She's always like walking the poodle down there. See, that's another example of a pattern interrupt. So you want to take your last homeowner you just sold to, whether it's a block away, preferably best on the same street. So once you sell one on the street, you use that prospect as the person that everybody knows, and you're going to talk about something that they would know about. Even if it's, let's say, 3 blocks away. Yeah, I'm not sure if you speak with your neighbors. Now, in this example, I'm going to show you something for solar, but I'm going to show you to angle it for anything door-to-door, because we teach all that in our virtual training courses, okay? But for illustrative purpose, I'm going to show you a couple of different industries here. Yeah, I'm not sure if you speak with your neighbors. I just came over from Kathy. You know Kathy Higgins? She has like the red door. Why did I say red door? I'm going to notice she has like the Kia, whatever it is, just something that would stand out. She has that red Kia. You know, she's always walking her poodle down the road. Now, what that does is it immediately takes the prospect's brain where? Who's Kathy Higgins? Red door, poodle. I just implanted that image in their brain. Why did I do that? Because I'm keeping them disarmed. I'm getting 5 more seconds, 10 more seconds. When on the doors, it's all about getting 5 more seconds, 10 more seconds, 30 more seconds till the guard is completely down. You with me on that? Okay. Let's say if you're selling solar, it's going to be different depending on the industry. It's a little bit different selling roofing, a little bit different. You sell pest control, alarms, lawn care. I mean, there's all the HVAC, there's all the different industries we train. I'm just going to stick with solar here so you can see the pattern ups in my tone and then apply it to your industry as well. And I'll show you some industry specific examples from others too. Yeah, this is your home here. Like these are all your neighbors. And you're kind of like leaning, you want to lean in. Like, it's because it causes them to lean in, okay? See what I'm doing here, okay? Let's say if I sell solar. Yeah, they get all their electricity from us. Let's say you're in Nevada. They get all their electricity from us, like not Nevada Power. No, we're not selling those like, you know, big solar panels. I mean, that made sense. I'm sure you'd already have them. That's if you're doing a PPA loan or something. So I can re-angle that. Okay, I'm selling the electricity, not the necessary. Yeah, they get all the electricity from us, like not Nevada Power. Like, and we're not doing like the selling the solar powers. That made sense. I'm sure you'd already have them up on your roof. The reason why we're out here, now you're going to lean in. Concerned tone, soft tone. Yeah, the reason why we're out here is we just compete with Nevada Energy. Like, what was the main reason you chose them to, like, do your electricity and your power? Now see how I leaned in, where it got a little bit more serious, more concerned, okay? Watch me do this again. This is important because if you're up here, the reason why we're out here is just to compete with Nevada Energy. Like, what was the main reason you chose them to do your electricity and power? Weird. There's no emotion there. Now watch me leaning in. Yeah, the reason why we're out here is we just compete with Nevada Energy. Like, can I ask what the main reason was why you chose them to do like your electricity and power? Now, if you're in an area, let's say in this state where, there's no choice, then, well, I didn't have a choice. Okay? It's going to be different in other areas. Then we say, yeah, I mean, probably cheesy question for sure, but are you opposed to homeowners having a choice? Now watch what I did there. That's an example of what's called a verbal pause. Now everything I'm showing you here, see how you do this for HVAC, or how you do it for roofing, or how you do it for alarms or lawn care, whatever. We train all those industries as well. I can't show you 70 examples here on this YouTube video. Our training courses for clients has all that too. Yeah, probably a cheesy question. Now, are you opposed to homeowners having a choice? Like, you're concerned. Now, you're going to verbal pace that out. Okay, this is what's called verbal pacing. The biggest reason why salespeople, especially on the doors, when you ask a question and your prospects give you vague, how many times you ask a question and you notice your prospects give you vague, generalized, surface level answers? It's because you're asking the question so fast, you're not giving them any time to internalize what you just asked, and it goes in one ear, out the other. So you're going to pace it out. Are you guys opposed to homeowners having a choice? Like, you're concerned. I'm using a concerned tone, a tone that shows empathy. Write this down. Your tone is how the prospect interprets your intention behind everything you say and ask. That's how they interpret why you're asking it, okay? Now, then I'm going to go into what's called an identity frame. We do these for all industries as well, including yours. They're like, oh, well, no, I'm not opposed. Now, why would I say, are you opposed or are you against? Where they say no. Because you've been taught you got to get them to say yes. So you've probably been taught, like, are you open to this? And like, well, I mean, maybe. But if what's the safest word for a prospect to say on the doors? The word no. The word no keeps them safe. But if I get them to say, it's hard for them to say, yes, I'm against that, or yes, I'm opposed, okay? They're going to say, well, no, I'm not opposed. What do you have in mind? Or no, I'm not against that, okay? So are you against homeowners having a choice? It's hard for them to say yes, okay? They're going to say, well, no, I'm not opposed. What do you have, okay? Then I'm going to go to this identity frame. Now, this is called an NEPQ identity frame, okay? And then I want to get them to identify a way against people that they don't want to be, okay? Hence more towards my way of thinking, okay? Yeah, I mean, you seem different. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people are like closed-minded and just, they keep paying the rate hikes every month without knowing they don't really have to anymore, man. I feel bad for those people. See how I'm doing that? Now, there's a few things I did here. You'd be surprised how many people are like closed-minded and just keep paying the rate hikes. Nobody wants to pay the rate hikes. See how I'm identifying them against closed-minded people who keep being forced to pay the rate hikes because they don't know they don't have to anymore. And then I say, I feel bad for them. But I say that in a concerned tone. Like, I feel bad for those people. See how I'm there to help them. I do. If I sold solar, I'd feel bad. If I sold roofing, I'd feel bad. If they were, overpaying for the roof. If they had a roof that wasn't really that good quality that they had to keep, replacing all the time. If I sold lawn care that didn't look that good. If I sold pest control that didn't really work. If, all those different things. Alarms that didn't really do the job, whatever it is, okay? Now, here's an example. I want to show you this now. So this is called deframing. I want you to write this down. This is an example of what's called NEPQ deframing. So every prospect you talk to on the doors or any type of sales environment, they have these limiting beliefs about what you do based on their past experiences. And unless you can prevent that from happening in their mind, you're going to get a lot of objections. So this is an objection prevention technique. The top 1% of salespeople, we're not really more focused on objection handling. We're more focused on objection prevention, like preventing the objection from happening in their brain. So it just makes selling a lot easier, okay? Does that make sense? So I have to deframe that negative way of thinking and reframe their way of thinking over to the way that gets them to purchase so I can solve their problems and get them where they want to be. See what I'm doing there, okay? So let me give you an example of a deframe. Let's just put it right here. I'm deframing this objection, okay? So here, let's say if I'm selling solar, okay? If they're not with me, they're with a power company that has a what? They're just always paying every single month, and they're forced to pay the bill till they die. Otherwise, they don't have power. It's like renting a home for 50 years rather than paying off in 20. So that doesn't make any sense. So I got to deframe that way thing because they've never thought about it. They just keep paying for no reason. Okay. Yeah. So how it works when it works, instead of, being stuck in those, it's like a never ending contract with your power company where they just, they raise your rate to whatever they want. And then they force you to pay the bill till you die. Okay. We have a program where instead of having it, now I'm going to reframe them. See, I just deframed this. Like, this is not a good idea. I'm deframing that way of thinking. And now I need to reframe them into a new way of thinking. So I prevent the objection from happening. Okay. So instead of having to be forced to do all that, we just have a program. See, I'm downplaying it. We just have a program. Send me to buy this like $30,000 power, solar power system that your neighbors did a few years ago. Notice how I'm separating myself from people that came by a couple of years ago that sold solar. See how I'm just doing that? Like your neighbor sold a couple of years ago. We're just able to offer you the electricity the panels produce. And the electricity just costs less than if you keep having to be forced to pay Edison or whoever your utility providers or whatever. You're going to say that, okay? Then immediately, so I'm downplaying this. Now, why am I downplaying this? Like I'm making it seem like not a big deal. In behavioral science, that's called mismatching. So in a sales situation, when you upplay something, especially before you have a lot of trust to crowd, like, oh, you're going to save a lot of money, and you tell them how much you're going to save, probably like, well, that's not that much money. They just felt like, you're not going to save a ton. You're only going to save like 22, 23% a month. Are you kidding me? My grandma said a penny saved is a penny earned. See the difference here? I'm downplaying it to make it up to it. And you're not being negative, like, oh, you shouldn't do this. You're not going to save any money. I mean, you're not going to save a ton. It's only going to be 21, 22% a month that you're going to save. I mean, for a homeowner like you with your house, 20% a month is not even that big of a deal for you. Well, I mean, every little bit adds up. See, you're going to get that reaction. Okay. Now, then I've got to get them. I still got to disarm them. Things are going in the mind. Now, hold on. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves because there's some homes that aren't even eligible for this program. Now, you're not going to get angry at me if I end up not being able to help you, are you? See how I'm doing that? I'm getting them to let their guard down. Okay. This stands for ABDs of selling. Okay. Now, if you want to learn more about how to get your prospects to let their guard down with what you sell, door to door, or any type of sales, your next step, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I come out with 2 to 3 different training videos per week on this channel. The only thing you want to protect yourself from is after you subscribe, don't share these videos, this channel, with your competitors. I can assure you, you don't want them learning what I'm going to show you here just on these YouTube videos. Don't share with your competitors. Hit subscribe. All right, now let's come back to the video. So immediately I got to get them, I say something about what I'm doing. Remember, I deframed, got that objection out of their mind that I'm different. I reframed their way of thinking here of what they think I'm doing. And then I'm disarming them right here. Now, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves because there's some homes that aren't even eligible for the program. Now, you're not going to get angry at me if I can't help you, are you? See, I'm concerned. You know what they do? Oh, no, I'm not going to get angry with you, Jeremy. See what I'm doing? I'm disarming them where now they start to pull me in rather than try to push me away. See what I'm doing there? Okay. Let me show you a couple more things here, all right? Now, then I'm going to go into what's called situation questions. I'm reframing it back to them. I'm focused back on them. Now, let's see if I'm selling solar, okay? Just an example, okay? Pest control, there'd be different situation questions, okay? HVAC, different situation questions. We teach all those in our courses. Anything that's sold door to door. The questions are going to vary a little bit different, but the framing is the same, okay? The format. Now, hey, your electrical bill, could you tell me a little bit more about those? I know most of you that they're pretty low, but what have they been making you pay lately? Now, what did I do there? Can you tell me a little bit more about your electric bill? I know most of the year it's pretty low. What would most salespeople say and exaggerate? Can you tell me about your bill? I know they've been raising the rates really high. And most prospects, unless they're laydowns will be like, yeah, they are. Everybody else will be like, well, it's not that bad. They'll just say that because they probably don't know, or they know you're trying to sell them something, so they're trying to get rid of you. So I'm going to mismatch. I know a lot of you, they're pretty low, but why have they been making you pay lately? Notice how I leaned in. I know a lot of you, they're pretty low, but why have they been making you pay lately? See the concern tone, the tone that shows empathy, okay? Now, if they like, oh, I don't really know. Well, if you really thought about it, what have they been making you pay? Just a technique. If somebody says, well, I don't really know. Well, if you really thought about it, and you'll notice their head will go down and they'll start thinking about it. Just another technique I'll show you. I'm just showing you little basic parts here, okay? Now, if they don't know, you can also show them a bill. Let's say if you're selling solar. Yeah, if you look here, like it's gone from like 13 cents a kilowatt to like 28, 29 cents a kilowatt in the last 3 years. So it's just a little bit over doubled. Why am I downplaying it more than doubled in the last 3 years? Because I'm mismatching. It's the way the brain works. Now they're like, are you kidding me? It's doubled? And I'm going to say, now, how familiar are you with what I mean by kilowatt? Now, it all depends on if I'm selling pest control, to solar, or alarms. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you use terms that you use as an industry, but your prospects really understand what you mean by that. Because how many of you know what a kilowatt is if you don't sell solar? You probably don't. How familiar are you with what I mean when I say kilowatt? Every time it goes around, okay? Now, or I could say, oh, on average, it's only been about 7 to 9% increase per year. What, are you kidding me? They've been increasing by 9% a year? These are just mismatching techniques to get them to upplay what you're talking about rather than trying to downplay. I'm going to show you a few different things right here, okay? So then I've got to reframe them. These are called NEPQ problem awareness questions. And then I'm going to lean in, okay? And I can do it a couple different ways depending on what they say. And it's all going to be different depending on what you sell door to door. Once again, I'm showing you the formula for an industry specific frame, but this frame is going to be the same for roofing, pest control, HVAC, everything, alarms, everything that's sold door to door, just little tweaks, industry specific stuff. Like I said, if you want to learn more about that, message us directly. You can talk with one of our account managers about maybe getting into our training programs if you want to learn more industry specific frames, okay? So then I'm going to lean in, depending on what they said about their bill. And I said, so do you like how much they've been making you pay? Do you like how much Edison's been making you guys pay? Well, no, I don't like it. Or I could say, I could do this. Okay, this is another frame. I could either ask this question depending on what they say before that. Do you want to have to keep paying the rate hikes every month if you didn't have to? Notice how I'm verbal pacing that question out. Because what would happen if I said it like this? Do you want to have to keep paying the rate hikes every month if you didn't have to? Well, of course not. I don't want to. But see, I'm saying the question too fast and I'm using kind of a monotone tone, like a salesperson. Now I want to use a concern tone here because this is concerning. Do you watch my hand on my chest here? It's a body language signal that shows your concern for them having to do that. Do you want to have to keep paying the rate hikes every month if you didn't have to? No, if I didn't have to, Jeremy. Okay. Now, okay, well, I'm going to set the appointment. It depends on what you sell. If you sold alarms or pest control, you're probably just going to make the deal right there. Okay. If you sold solar or maybe HVAC, you might make an appointment and come back later. It depends on your sales process. Okay. Everybody has a different sales process. I'm just showing you here if you're selling solar, you're setting the appointment. So now I got to downplay it again. Okay. Okay. Well, there's a possibility we might be able to do something. I can't guarantee it yet, but I don't know how much we could save you yet. But what I could do with your permission is we could set up an appointment to come back, like when your spouse is here, to make sure this would actually be eligible for the home. Now tell me, how does your spouse feel about you guys having to pay the rate hikes? Oh, well, he wouldn't want me to pay the rate hikes. Oh, see, I'm getting buy-in. Okay. Does that make sense when I'm doing that? Those are just more pattern interrupts to get them to let their guard down and to get them to get the spouse on board. There's a lot more to that. Okay. So then I'm going to say, okay, so who would be involved in like looking at this to see if it would actually fit into what you guys are looking for? Oh, that's my husband. Then I might say, well, how does your spouse feel about you? And I could repeat back the problem, or you maybe saving money. It just depends on what you sell. Okay, I'm getting buy-in there. Okay. Now, are you and your spouse home a little bit more in the daytime or more in the evening? Because I've got to see if I'm going to be available for you. It's the same thing. See, most of you've probably been trained that you got to qualify to the prospect. You got to sell to the prospect. You got to overcome their own objections. And that's only gotten you to where you're at. We're going to show you how to get the prospect to qualify to you, how to get the prospect to sell themselves, how to get the prospects to overcome their own concerns, and how to get the prospects to pull you in rather than you push and pressure. And I can tell you which one is going to make you more sales a lot easier in less time. The one where they pull you in, where it's their idea, you're just facilitating that and reframing that way of thinking over to your idea, okay? Deframes, reframes, okay? When you push and pressure, you only get a certain amount of people, and then a lot of those people will end up canceling before it even gets installed. You don't want to do that no matter what you're doing, okay? Just you're losing people because of the pressure points. I want to trigger internal tension where the prospect feels a massive need to change, and it's their idea because I've seeded that in their brain by my body language, my tonality, facial expressions, and the words and questions I'm using. I hope that helped you. If you sell door-to-door or anything, learn a little bit about deframing and pre-framing and reframing techniques. I showed you just a few things, more industry specific. If you want to learn more about your industry that you sell in, your next step, hit the subscribe button. The only thing, I typically will do 2 to 3 training videos a week on this channel. The only thing I would suggest, do not share it with your competitors. You do not want them to learn what I'm going to show you. Only share it with your office or your company that you work with, or maybe a different industry that does door-to-door. Don't share it with somebody you compete with. Hope that helped you today. Give you a little nibble on what it takes to get your prospects to let their guard down and become open to what you're offering. Because without that, you can't solve their problems and get them to where they be. Hit the subscribe button below. I'll see you soon. Now also, in the comment section, post what you want me to cover on the next video. I'm going to have my content director, my team, go in there, and what you need help, I'm going to do videos on. So in the comment section, make sure you post what you need more help in, door-to-door or any type of sales, and I'll do more training videos around that for you. Comment below. I'll see you soon.